So we've talked about Sony and crossplay in the past quite a bit with Fortnite. Do you remember that whole thing when Fortnite went to the Switch and people were trying to log in with their normal account they have on the PS4, and then they realized they couldn't because Sony outright locked it to the PS4 and you could pretty much only use it there or on the PC. You couldn't go anywhere else. Couldn't go to the Xbox, couldn't go to the Switch, and it really wasn't a massive deal before then because most people either play on the Xbox or the PS4. The Switch becoming involved made things different because then it became a portable game rather than just being a game that you had to be tethered to a TV with. Well, since then, it garnered mainstream attention, and Sony even kind of came out, skirted around the issue, and then eventually said, we'll look into the possibility and see what we can figure out. We even heard later on from an ex-Sony employee that it had everything to do with what we figured, which was money. Sony wants to keep everything on their platform. They don't want you to use an item on their platform that you bought on Nintendo's or Microsoft's or anything like that. Any competitors? None of that. PC, not a big deal. It's an open platform. They're not really competing against any one person for that. So since then, we've kind of been quiet on the crossplay issue. People are not happy with it, obviously. Gamers are not. And it seems the more and more we hear from developers and publishers, they're not really that happy either. I mean, think about it from their position. If it's completely open and everyone can play together, their player base is larger, so if one platform starts to sink kind of low for population, another one can kind of hold it up, whether it's the PS4, the Xbox, the Switch, PC. That's kind of what they want. They want a unified multiplayer experience to keep the population high so people will continue to play and they can introduce their favorite thing ever now, which is live services. Well, it looks like Bethesda is kind of getting to the point where they may just outright not bring a game to the PS4 if they can't have cross play or cross progression, with the latest example appearing to be their digital card game, The Elder Scrolls Legends. And in fact, Pete Hines actually sat down with Game Informer at Quakecon, the event that took place this past weekend where he saw Doom Eternal, Fallout 76, and everything down in Texas, and he had this to say. It is our intention, in order for the game to come out, that it has to be those things on any system. We cannot have a game that works one way across everywhere else except for on this one thing. The way the game works right now on Apple, Google, Steam, and Bethesda.net, it doesn't matter where you buy your stuff. If you play it on another platform, that stuff is there. It doesn't matter what platform you play against everyone else who is playing at that moment. There is no, oh, it's easier to control or it has better frame rate on this system. It's a strategy card game. It doesn't matter. Pete Hines actually goes on from there to say that it's non-negotiable, and that's just the way it is. Now, they don't outright say PlayStation 4. They don't outright say Sony. They never really point to any one system or platform or anything, but we all kind of know who they're talking about. It's pretty obvious. They're talking about the PlayStation 4, as Sony has been the only one so far pretty much out of everyone, even Nintendo, which is still weird to think about, by the way. Sony's been the only one that's been reluctant to have purchasable items go between the two. They don't even want cross-progression. That's an issue to them. Forget cross-play. They don't want you to be able to move your account around, and maybe that's why Bethesda is reluctant about this situation, because it seems like Sony has no problem locking the account down, and it doesn't matter what, I guess, Epic says, because they said it's a Sony thing. They can't do anything about it, and that's their game. That's the crazy thing, right? So really what it comes down to now, is it worth skipping the system that is far and away the leader in the console generation here, right? We've seen it, over 80 million systems now shipped and even sold through, and that makes up more than half of the install base between all systems. Like, they are the premier system. Is it worth Bethesda skipping this system? It's hard to say, but I think in this instance, Bethesda is a little more comfortable because it's also on mobile phones, Android, Google, tablets, everything there. It's a free-to-play game, so they are looking to get as many people as possible on board, but because we all have a phone pretty much and, usually access to a computer that can probably play this game, it's also going to the Switch and the Xbox, and we believe it's going to the PlayStation, but that seems to be up in the air right now with what Sony's doing. Would they skip the PS4? I would say they could, just because it seems there's less pressure on them for this to move units or move downloads is what they call it, as opposed to something like a big budget like Fallout 76 coming out, and they need people to buy it because it's a $60 game. They want that large install base, whereas something like the Elder Scrolls Legends, they can kind of wait on because, well, everyone can play it on pretty much everything else. It's not tied to just a PS4, an Xbox, or a PC, which, again, Todd Howard did say the reason there's no crossplay there is because Sony was the one who pretty much cut that down as well. So yes, Sony does seem to be pretty much destroying all thoughts of crossplay in any system and platform or game because they are the market leader. And what's very interesting about this situation is both Starfield and their next Elder Scrolls game, we believe, it appears to be anyway, these will be PS5, Xbox 2, they'll be next generation games essentially, right? They're not coming out this generation from what we keep hearing from them. And then everything restarts. Sony, Microsoft both start at 0. And then does Sony start rethinking this whole situation unless they jump out to a monstrous lead to where they are the market leader far and away. But what if they don't? What if they stumble? What if Microsoft has a strategy to move, as we've heard, 2 SKUs with one being exceptionally cheap because it streams? What happens then? Then does Sony turn around on their whole crossplay situation, or would they be pushed with a larger game? Would Bethesda cut them out of something else that has crossplay? And would Sony start to kind of maybe fold a bit? I mean, this is the weird situation here. Both parties want the game on their system because Sony gets royalties, and of course they will get sales from all the people, but they don't. Bethesda doesn't want to, I guess, ruin or damage what their idea is of an all-inclusive ecosystem set of games where you can pretty much go between the two, or all of them if you want, whether you have a phone or a PS4, or you have a Switch and a PS4, or you just have everything and you just want to be able to jump to either one. It's a weird situation because I'm curious if other developers and publishers could be thinking the same way, but they're scared to do it because Sony just has such a market lead. Would they skip a system this large, or just a system in general, because it wouldn't do crossplay? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below about this whole situation with Bethesda possibly skipping the PS4 for their big launch of their free-to-play digital card game, Elder Scrolls Legends. Or do you think they need a bigger game to skip the PS4 for Sony to go back and say, okay, maybe this crossplay thing is something we should be looking into. Maybe it's not worth us fighting this fight, just to keep everyone on our platform, because they'll just leave us if we don't do that. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below, especially with the next generation kind of looming. We're probably about 2 years out from the next generation really starting to become a reality. Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation down below. Make sure you like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.